my god, the Switch 2 Direct. That happened a week ago or something. Tons of crazy stuff happened, or at least I'm assuming it did because I'm writing and recording this before the thing even aired. Something, watch my reaction. It's Sakurai! Oh my god! Also, like this video and subscribe if you wind up liking the video. Really helps me out. And hey, if you think me talking about Fighter and not the Nintendo Direct is super neat, then you, yes you, can leave a comment voting on what copy ability that I cover next. The voting process ends on April 26th, 2025, so get to voting. And hey, if it's after that point, just because you can't vote doesn't mean that you can't, tell me what you think of Fighter in the comments. Do you like it? Think it's overrated? You like doing that quarter circle forward motion to make Kirby do a Hadouken? Let me know. I love hearing what people think. But enough about what I love. Let's talk Kirby. Which I love. I'm getting off real easy here. Except, not really, because you guys voted for Fighter in the last video. Fighter's been in like a million games. Oh, it's only in 13? Huh. Anyway, Fighter has won fans from all over the world with its iconic headband, wide arsenal of moves, and loving homages to fighting games. It's got personality to spare and is certainly on the popular end, but as I always say, popularity means squat in the realm of efficient Kirby. Time to see if this fighter won the World Warrior Tournament, or it's some wannabe with some non-fatal fury. Let's talk Fighter Kirby. First things first, it should be mentioned that Fighter has a lot of moves. It could win a Guinness World Record for the sheer quantity of them. Kirby's World Record. That said, with so many moves, some are gonna fall through the cracks. Vulcan Jab, done by tapping the attack button, just does a bunch of small little pew-pews. They're fine for what they are, but clearly they're too weak to do much of anything. Force Blast, done by holding down and attacking without holding, is a very bad move, but it has some alterations that make it very good. Leg Sweep, done by running and tapping B, makes Kirby very slowly do a dash attack with a little invincibility and moving next to nowhere. Are these moves bad? Yes. Does Fighter having bad moves make it worse? No, although if it doesn't have any good moves, yeah, that would be rather sad. Yeah, I know, the Vulcan Jab, yeah, rapid fire is the finest move in Fighter's kit, being beaten in terms of damage by something like Beam's basic attacks. Very refined. That said, there are 13 different Kirby games here. If you think what works in one game is gonna work in the next, you're crazy. Well, that or you've only played the 2010s entries, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's start simple. What can Fighter do in Kirby Superstar? That's not simple, excuse me? Fighter has an uppercut in Rising Break, allowing Kirby to deal damage on the way up. There's Smash Punch, done by holding the attack button, which lets Kirby fire off a half-screen attack. That deals good damage. Or it's the Hadouken that wouldn't appear for another 15 years, if you ask TV tropes. And watch this video. It's got command grabs, air kicks, air projectiles, the works. Fighter did wind up getting crazier later, but even in its debut appearance, it entered with a statement. That statement wasn't particularly loud as some of the actual jank in this game, but I will give Fighter credit for being honest. It actually has some pretty solid times for the arena. Nothing groundbreaking, but it's impressive that it can deal as much damage as it does without any crazy advanced maneuvers. And if that doesn't just scream fighting games, then I don't know what does. Of course, something that it doesn't have by design that would plague Fighter for years is an efficient dash attack. Yeah, I know, we're getting into dash attacks already. It's just bound to happen eventually. I try not to talk about them this early, and for what it's worth, Fighter actually does have a dash attack that admittedly functions as a move that attacks while you're dashing. We're not looking at another beam here, where you just stop dead in your tracks, or another yo-yo where taking damage is expected more often than not. This wipes through enemies just fine. It pushes Kirby forward just fine. But wow, does Kirby have to stop and appreciate that fact every single time. Since it can't be used in the air and can't be jump canceled, there is really no way to make this dash attack work. And sadly, I'm not just talking about Superstar here. Aside from spin-offs like the Fighters games and Battle Royale, where dash attacking, that's not so important, you rarely see use from Fighter for the main modes. Even beyond the good old days on the Super Nintendo, or especially past those days, these gosh darn new generation abilities, Fighter's honest, jankless dash attack just can't keep up. In Amazing Mirror alone, you've got short hops, wheel, parasol, cupid, missile, burning, stone, oh my. So, that's it then. An ability shows up in 13 games, and it took me all of, 5 minutes to explain how and why it's terrible. What a great spotlight we got here. Of course, the fact that there's a lot of time left in the video should tell you that this isn't the whole story. See, abilities like Fighter may never be great for levels, but oftentimes they can find value for specific niches throughout, say, a 100% playthrough. And while it's nothing crazy, Fighter's special traits do grant it some time to shine. For example, you use it to get all of one treasure chest in Amazing Mirror before resetting the game, losing Fighter for the rest of the run. Yeah, I know, getting one chest and being smacked out of the way sure sounds like a big bummer. Maybe it is, but understand how many abilities there are with literally zero uses. If using Fighter in soft resetting is worth it, over just grabbing a different ability that's already faster, or mixing, doing whatever it takes, I think that's worth something. You really aren't literally forced to use Fighter here, you know? There's also instances of Fighter being great for backup strats. For example, in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the literal last regular level of the game presents you with a Knuckle Joe that you can devour alive and get Fighter. But why get Fighter instead of, oh, I don't know, Wing? There's a mix setup in 7-2, and in Return Deluxe, you can even use the Knuckle Joe plus a Mecha Mech, I think that's what they're called now, thanks Nintendo today, to get an easy 2-enemy mix. And if you're gunning for a world record or something, you do this, but if you want to avoid the absolute heck, yeah, I said heck, what are you gonna do about it? Please don't do anything, YouTube, thank you. That is mixing in Return to Dreamland. Fighter is a very fast, very easy, very efficient alternative. But, okay, enough of where Fighter is, kinda good. What does Fighter actually do? It has a lot of moves, and evidently a fair amount of them not very good. You would assume Fighter is really good at combat, and you're not wholly wrong, especially depending on the game, but Fighter really does shine in its utility. Like I said earlier, if you're not gonna be broken, be really good at really random things. And Fighter sure is good at really random things. For example, its Smash Punch, where you press and hold down the attack button, is a mere half screen. Wait, I can't explain that one already. And while it can't do some of the things that you really want it to do, like hit the Revenge of Venonite 6 switch, it does deal pretty good damage from a safe distance. Kinda like Yo-Yo from last week, except, it's actually good. Unfortunately, you don't get to see this used in a single main series any percent run, or even most hundos. It's definitely outclassed by the stronger, faster fighters of its kind. But sometimes it does get to shine. For example, in the Magolor races from Kirby's Dream Collection, it does really well. Moves like Smash Punch, Double Kick, Sky Kick, and of course, good old dash attack, Spin Kick allows it to plow through enemies. It can't really keep up with the top tier abilities like Wing and Parasol, but it does about as well as other really strong abilities like Smash. Smash and Fighter have the 3rd and 4th fastest times for these races, and they're both, fighting abilities. How about that? It's really weird to imagine Fighter, the fighting ability, I just said this, be used for utility. But it genuinely is really nice to have around for most of the games that it's in. While it certainly loses nearly all of its luster when you reach the very top of efficiency for Kirby, I think at the beginner level, and heck, even maybe a more intermediate one, Fighter's utility really can come in handy. Something like Triple Deluxe's super long, all-out 100% run that requires you to beat Kirby Fighters 10 times is made much easier because Fighter's got a lot of really handy tools to make it a fast, easy run. Because it has such a wide moveset, it ends up with a near top 10 guest star allies run in Star Allies. Having things like an uppercut and a dive kick help it have an easier time with the bosses as well. In some games, it's even really good versus them too, but again, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Again, I really want to stress, we're not talking about some insane end-all be-all ability here. In the grand scheme of things, these are unfortunately pretty small. The best of the best can find genuine, long-term use in any or multiple, heck, even all, if you're, as I scientifically describe it, cray-cray of a boss rush, hundo, or any percent. Fighter sorta does, but that's delving into a spin-off, which I'd like to talk about a bit later. It's pretty absolutely, wholeheartedly, wildly insane, and we're at the, it's just pretty cool levels of talking about Fighter, so again, we'll get there when we get there. Ironically, I think the hardest thing to talk about with Fighter would be its combat. You know, the whole thing it looks like it was designed around. This should be an easy home run, but unfortunately, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know how... Oh, am I kidding? There's no adjective to describe how out there Kirby combat can get. For example, the Fighter, or Knuckle Joe in this case, is really good at boss fights in Superstar Ultra. So good, in fact, it nets a top 6 time for Helper to Hero, and given some of these abilities, looking right at you, Hammer and Stone, are absolutely ridiculous. That is really good. But is it really as good as the Hammer Flip from Hammer, Stone Charge from Stone, and Ninja's Quad Shock, Ice's Super Ice Sprinkle? No, not really, and given that this is, you know, Fighter, you'd think it would be better. But hey, at least it's still really good. You look at, say, the original Superstar, where Jank reigns supreme, and Fighter, like we said before, has no Jank. You look at a game where combat is more limited, like Squeak Squad, and Fighter there is in a really sad state of affairs. Spoiling this now, it very may well be the worst Fighter has ever been. So if you're upset that I haven't mentioned Squeak Squad yet, and are wondering why I'm not gonna mention it again until the rankings, there you go. To skip ahead a little bit, because games like Robobot and Star Allies got hit by such insane power creep, Fighter struggles to keep decent times for those boss rush modes too. It, granted, succeeds in being decent, but it's a big step down from some of the more combat-focused previous games. Fortunately for all of you, and unfortunate for the poor soul who has to do all of the research for these videos, hi, yeah, that's me. The quality of Fighter's combat depends really heavily on which game we're talking about. See, something that Hal likes to do with the more referential abilities is to give them entire moves that are cute nods to what inspired them. In Fighter's case, Return to Dreamland blessed it with the Force Blast. Or rather, the Mega Force Blast. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I should be saying the Giga Force Blast. Okay, I mean, the Giga Force Blast, that one is insanely good, yeah, but really what we're here for, unironically, is the instant Mega Force Blast. Imagine having an ability with reasonable utility, decent options to fight bosses in the air, and solid combat prowess, with a full screen nuke that comes out as fast as a normal attack with damage nearing Hammer Flip levels. This is oftentimes referred to as the Hadouken, the fireball from Street Fighter done by inputting a quarter circle forward motion. We call Kirby's version a Hadouken because, I mean, it's a fireball done by inputting a quarter circle forward motion. I don't think I have to explain that much, right? Anyway, the drawback is the more complicated motion that you need to input in order to get the attack out. But once mastered, which is a very easy thing to do, by the way, the speed and power you get from this are top class. I'm not kidding. Return to Dreamland's True Arena, it's on the easy side, but Fighter scores a 5th place time among a lot of heavy hitters. And while it loses a bit of its polish in Return Deluxe due to strong competition and tricky new bosses, it still holds an 8th place spot against even stronger competition. A true job well done, especially in Vanilla Return's case, where it has the easy backup in Hundo we were talking about before, arguably making it even more worthwhile than Wing. In that level specifically, not overall. Wing is, oh boy. Utility, speed, and combat. Fighter has it all. It'd be cool if you know, it was crazy at these, but the beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Oh, and don't get me wrong, while Planet Robobot was the last straw in terms of this move staying competitive, it did manage to stay fairly decent in Triple Deluxe with an unimpressive, but hey, I said decent, and what do you know, there it is, 15th place out of 22 abilities. But I know you people watching, you're very smart. You're still wondering, anxious to find out how good Fighter is in the spin-offs. I hyped this up earlier in the video, and it's finally time to talk about it. And it's fine, for the most part. It's got some fairly consistent middle-of-the-pack times for Kirby Fighters Deluxe. It peaks in the top 5 for very hard, but it plummets to the bottom 3 for regular hard. Different difficulties, different game, something like that. Just trust me, it's easier that way. As for Battle Royale, it's Battle Royale. If you're not whip, hammer, or sword, you really don't have a specific niche. You're also not like slower, technically, for the most part, given most of Battle Royale's games are on an unskippable timer, so you can use it. Shoot, dang, that was a bummer. Guess I built that up for nothing. I mean, sure, I haven't talked about Fighters 2 yet, but the painting's already been painted. I think there's a better expression than whatever it was I just said, but if Fighter had middling times for Deluxe, wouldn't it be even worse off in Fighters 2? It's actually, believe it or not, it's better off, really benefits from having simpler strats in a game that can get way more chaotic than Fighters Deluxe, even having a peak of a 9th place at very hard. Yeah, you remember when I said Fighter had really good utility? It is still applying here. I'm so good at this whole video thing. But still, while I would certainly call it good, it isn't the best. Catch my drift? How in the heck would you make Fighter the best? Oh, by having a power-up that decreases charge time on charge moves. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, so judging what the best ability is for Kirby Fighters 2's oh, I'm sorry, that just feels so bad to say. Ugh. Story mode is tough. On the one hand, Sword for Chapter 1 is the only one that really feels undisputed and consistent, even if it is the most unimpressive. Wrestler for Chapter 2 does have to compete with Sword, which is more consistent, but with early enough attack buffs can go sicko mode and defeat enemies way faster. Hammer in Chapter 3 is certainly the best and most consistent, but unlike Sword, it does genuinely struggle without the proper buffs. This carries over to Chapter 4, which is even scarier thanks to my sleep paralysis demon, Shadow Kirby. In comes Fighter, viable but risky for Chapter 4 if you can get good enough stat buffs. But Chapter 5, oh boy, Fighter Kirby's got it all. It's fast, it's strong, it's consistent, it's the only choice you should pick. Well, I mean, okay, other abilities such as Beam, yeah, they can replicate what it does, but the fact stands that, as of this writing, Fighter is the best. Yeah, Instant Mega Force Blast is really good, but what if you could get a near instant Giga Force Blast? Yeah, Giga, not Mega. If you're watching the footage, you're in awe of how insane it is right now, but if you're not watching the footage, trust me, it's really insane. So this is where we're stuck with Fighter, an ability with a lot going for it in a lot of different areas, spread way too thin to really make a difference. It's mostly stuck being backup, occasionally seeing the smallest of uses in the actual main categories before being discarded. This doesn't discredit the good things about it, especially in the games where it can pull really impressive feats, but it's only when it can go all out that we get to see its true potential. It also kind of needs that Hadoken. I think Superstar Ultra is the only passable showing that it has where the Hadoken isn't there. So how do we evaluate an ability like this? I'm not looking forward to it, but there is only one way for us to find out. Ew, oh boy, there's not a lot to go over. But we're not done yet. Obviously, given how I finished my sentence like 3 sentences ago. Of course, we now venture into the scary territory. It's time for Klaire's Copy Ability Spotlight Rankings, where I rank how good Fighter, in this case, is in all of these games. I've had this ranking thing pretty easy for a while, but I'll be real with you, this was a tricky one. Both on what champions won out, and what losers crashed and burned. But even though it was hard, I pushed through with the spirit of vigor of even the strongest fighter. So let's talk about these darned rankings already. Number 13, Kirby Squeak Squad. Fighter just has nothing to do. What a bum. Number 12, Kirby Battle Royale. It's really not that bad, but there's like literally no reason to use it. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the nature of Battle Royale. Number 11, Kirby Planet Robobot. The system changes were really mean to Fighter, but what'd be even meaner would be if you made it this far into the video and still didn't leave a like and subscribe. How dare you? Number 10, Kirby's Dream Collection. The very middle of the road ability, the perfect midpoint for how good or bad an ability is in this game. Number 9, Kirby Superstar. Fighter is pretty good here, but good and jank are two very different things. Kirby Superstar cares way more about jank than I care about Fighter itself even, which honestly is kind of crazy. Number 8, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. It's actually used in Hundo, albeit for 5 seconds, but its range lets it see some use. It's also kinda almost good for bosses, unlike Squeak Squad, so I mean it's got something, right? Number 7, Kirby Fighters Deluxe. Most of these times it gets are just okay, but they're better enough than enough of the competition all across the board. That's the first genuine compliment that I could give out. That means we're getting somewhere. Number 6, Kirby Triple Deluxe. Also middle of the road here, and only really used in Hundo for forced Kirby Fighter stuff, but at the very least, in Kirby Fighters, pretty good. And the arena, it's pretty good. Number 5, Kirby Star Allies. Soul Melter EX is just out of the picture. Hadoken loses out to dog canceling at this point, which makes me very, very sad. Real good guest star run though, that's nice. Plentiful moves are finally coming in handy. There you go. Number 4, Kirby Superstar Ultra. Has nothing to do for the main modes, but as this is probably the first game where the overwhelming majority of abilities are actually good, there's no shame in that. And not to mention, a 6th place run for Helper to Hero is actually pretty heckin' great. Number 3, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Fighter still isn't seeing much of anything for the main modes, but an 8th place True Arena time is very impressive, given this game's True Arena is what it is. Similar to something like Parasol, I imagine it would have it even more potential if it could actually deal with aerial bosses a little better too. Number 2, speaking of that word, somewhat controversially, maybe Kirby Fighters 2. As soon as you get it, you can use it in Chapter 4 with some good luck, but it completely dominates and becomes the only viable choice for Chapter 5. Kinda. The single-handed mode times it gets, they're fine, but its chokehold on Chapter 5 cannot be overstated. And finally, number 1, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, a top 5 placement in the True Arena on top of being competitive with Wing for a full level in Hundo, gave it that final extra push that it needed to achieve this spot. There are a lot of abilities that can do what Fighter does in this game, unlike Fighters 2, and yet it still sees use and dominates the True Arena. I think that's the mark of a clear winner. So, those are the rankings, but how about the ratings? Don't you worry, as hard as this was, I pulled through with the Klaire Copy Ability Spotlight ratings. Not at all like the rankings, except for the things that they have in common. For beginners, the kind of player that may be new to speedrunning or finds efficient play really neat and kind of wants to improve their own Kirby play. This one took me a while, and I may be giving Fighter a little too much credit here, but what the heck, A-. Aside from a few stinkers, Fighter is a surprising model of consistency and utility. Even some of its worst performances, like Battle Royale and Dream Collection, it's got something going for it, however small. And the utility of that moveset is pretty hard to pass up. That said, it does start to look a bit worse when we get to the intermediate player. These are the people like me that have a pretty solid grasp on what they're doing, but can't quite reach the top. We may not be able to fit them into a proper speedrun if they're suboptimal enough, but can find sporadic uses out of them. This was the hardest of the bunch, believe it or not, since I knew it would be better than what the advanced player would expect, but also be worse than what the beginner would expect. How far in the middle is where I struggled with this, but ultimately I decided on B-. It's only good in 4, maybe 5 of these games, but not only is that more than, honestly, a lot of abilities, it's also really good in those 4 or 5 games. That's gotta be worth something, right? Now, up next, on a casual level, I give Fighter a fun out of 10. Finally, for the advanced player who is really heckin' good at Kirby, yet again, third verse same as the first, I went back and forth on this. I want to be generous and barely not give Fighter a D+, but seeing how it is in a good 6 or 7 of these games at the very top makes me think C- is too high. I'll be nice because nice is nice and give it a C-, but really isn't like that good. In some games, sure, it's crazy the feats that it can pull off, but in most, meh, with a capital M. The rest is lowercase because, meh. Okay, that had nothing to do with Fighter, but I don't know, I thought of it on the fly. I'm like really happy. And so another beefier spotlight comes to a close. I have to pose the question once again, was the ability of the day, Fighter Kirby, actually any good? The answer is a resounding yes, although with a little tiny asterisk next to the word good. Fighter is definitely good, but that's all it is. Good. Is it great? Definitely not. But given the harsh reality we and the copy abilities live in, good is good. I'm glad to finally talk about an ability and be able to sing its praises. The highs, they're not very high. The lows, they're kind of sad. But at the end of the day, Fighter is an honestly good ability, and I think that's all that matters. I like abilities like this. They're not completely useless. They're not complete cheese. They're good. Mad respect. Speaking of respect, wow, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your support. Remember, vote for the ability that you would like to see me cover next if you haven't already. Voting ends on April 26th, 2025, so get to that voting. And also like the video and subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you would like to go the extra mile, please consider becoming a Puptrin on Patreon or a Mempup on YouTube. You get nifty perks, including behind-the-scenes access to just about anything. You can talk about games, movies, cartoons, anime, videos, who the heck knows? Special thanks to my head-patting, Fluffle fan Puptrins and Mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, Galaxy Fan 4, Nightfall, and Arthur Legal 250V. I love you all! And until I see everyone in another video, I have been Klaire. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you around. Well, bye-bye!